Islam. How the Moors feel this evening?
Oh, well.
Praise Allah. Happy holy day. Yes, indeed. I rise. Give a praise to the Most High God Allah, Father of the universe, Master of the Day of Judgment. I give highest of honors to our holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Jurali, who was the last prophet in these days, thought of Allah manifested in flesh, thought of Allah manifested in human flesh. Islam Moors?
Islam.
I give high honors to the Moorish standard, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center, each point representing love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam. I give high honors to the American flag, which is the flag of our birth, and a constant reminder that European nations owe you and not the Moors, and compound nations. Islam Moors. I give high honors to the current leadership of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America on a state, on a local, state, and national level. I give high honors to all the Moors in the Grove, because you could have been anywhere else Friday night, but you come to be the truth. Islam Moors?
Islam.
Once again, how the Moors doing?
All is well. Praise Allah.
How you doing, Sheikh?
All is truly well, Lord.
You feeling better, Sheikh?
Much better.
Islam, how you doing, sister?
All is well, beloved.
All is well. All right. All right.
All is well.
All is well. Praise Allah.
That's fine.
Let's give a round of applause to our sister Grand Sheikh for that demonstration. Every time the Sheikh comes up, he comes and demonstrates, very thought-provoking manners, so that we can think. The Prophet said, if I can get you to think, you save yourself. Islam Moors. I'll be taking a reading from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Jurali, by the guiding of his father, God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from the sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father God, Allah. Islam Moors. Declare my intentions. Any good that you hear from me is from Allah, and any errors that I may commit on my part in my attempt to express the doctrine is from me. Do not attribute that to Allah or our holy prophet Noble Jurali. So I'll be taking a reading from page 3. The divine instructions from the holy prophet. Know thyself and thy father God Allah. The genealogy of Jesus with 18 years of the events, life, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all of those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life, works, and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order, and your children will learn to love instead of hate. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity, as I am a prophet and a servant is worthy of his hire. You can receive this pamphlet at expense. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed these secrets. And for the first time in ages, have these secrets been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. All authority and rights of publishing this pamphlet in 1927 by Prophet Noble Jurali, the Industrious Acts of the Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hammatites, and Canaanites who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms, and these kingdoms they called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. Islam Moors?
Islam.
And as a side note, I got some new glasses, and man, when I tell you I can read so much better, I can see so much better. I'm really seeing y'all for the first time, honestly. And it was an Asiatic brother that made these. Islam Moors.
Islam.
So, what I want to talk about today more is briefly, is I want to talk about us being in defense of the gospel of Noble Jurali. Islam Moors. You see, I read page 3 because this is pretty much a summary of the value of these lessons, right? And so, how do you determine the value of a thing, right? To us, we determine the value of a thing by how much protection you offer that thing. Islam. You see, if we had no value, if the temple didn't have any value, we would not have the vanguard in place, and there wouldn't be a brother at the door. Any old Joe off the street can just come in and come out and do whatever he or she desires, because there will be no value in this. Islam. And so since there's value in the doctrine, there's value in the actual physical temple itself, there's a guard placed so that no harm can come to us, right? We have our sisters on the far side of the room so that if harm does happen to come upon us, harm does not come to them first. Islam. There's value on the women. Islam. So there's value in these lessons. And so how are we as the Moorish Americans demonstrating that value? How are we defending it, right? Are we allowing anybody to come and say that they're this and they're that? Are we actually going out and propagating the faith of Ali in America? Are we, when we see falsehood being demonstrated as it relates to our doctrine, are we standing up and correcting the misinformation? Or are we being passive and not active? The Prophet talked about being active and not passive. But the cornerstone of being active is being able to see a situation and being proactive. Stepping up and saying, this information that you're propagating as it relates to our faith is wrong. And so allow us to sit down and reason together. And let me show you the right way. Let me give you the pristine, pure, uncut. Islam. So when we talk about defending, what does it mean to defend something? The floor is open. What does it mean to defend something, anything?
Islam, having already risen, I would say that to defend something means is synonymous with preserving it, preserving the sacred sanctity of a thing.
I really, really like that word, sanctity. That's a beautiful word. Anyone else? In terms of what does defending something mean?
Protecting.
Ma'am?
Islam, my rise with all praise to Allah and a house of honors to his holy divine prophet Omoowale-Bey. Defend means to protect something.
Protect Islam. So when we talk about defending, those are all beautiful answers, particularly with the brother Kareem Bey referenced sanctity. Right? There's a sanctity in these lessons. It's pristine. It's perfect. And though we're taught that the doctrine itself is impregnable, right? It'll burn you up before you try to burn it up.
That's right. I've been waiting.
However, that does not mean that it of itself does not contain a level of vulnerability. And where the vulnerability comes in is how people express the doctrine, right? When we learn the doctrine of the Moorish Science Temple of America, are we learning it in the correct manner, right? Are we eating the right foods when it comes to this teaching? Because you can, I mean, Moors, I bear witness, you can buy this on Amazon, unfortunately. And that in of itself shows that the sanctity of this doctrine has been tampered with, to where you can go and buy this off a public website as if this is another New York Times bestseller. No, more emphatically no. And we even demonstrate that by how there have been foreign teachings introduced into the teachings of Prophet Noble Ali, right? We call them foreign doctrines that have nothing to do with the teachings, but see people gratifying their lower selves and wanting to mix and match, come in and say, well, this is more science. This is more science. That is more science. No more. This is all we need. The Prophet said to be a real Moorish leader, study your Quran and the divine constitution and bylaws. Islam Moors. And a real Moorish leader is not just a sheikh, a divine minister, a grand sheikh, or a grand governor. A Moorish leader is any Moorish American that loves the Prophet and is seeking to execute the divine plan of the ages. Islam Moors. All praise is due to Allah. So how are we Moorish Americans, how do we go about actually defending the gospel? And gospel just means good news. Islam Moors. We go about defending the gospel, Moors, by first actually knowing what that gospel is, right? We talk about knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? So the first step is knowledge. We got to take the time out, sit in the groves, do study at home, get instruction, get help, and actually learn the doctrine, right? Reading, being able to study this Quran from front to back, knowing what's inside the Quran, knowing what's inside the divine constitution and bylaws, and having an understanding of it, knowing about it, right? And so from the knowledge base comes the wisdom, right? We know wisdom is applied knowledge.
Right.
So now it's just like the three-step ladder: belief, faith, fruition. So you read the divine instructions and you believe in it,
That sounds right.
right? Now it's time for you to have faith in it.
That's right.
You know it's the truth because now you demonstrate it, right? I can't remember who asked, but it was asked, how do we actually learn the lessons to a point that we can quote it and things like that? Well, we learn it by living it,
That's right.
right? Living the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
That's right. That's right.
See, some things go beyond the scholastic, and the academic. Sometimes you got to actually get out in the field and try it,
That's right.
right? In order to become a journeyman in any sort of field, you can't just go to school.
Come on, Mom.
School is actually the most important, but it's the smallest part of the education process,
Wow.
right? Being an electrical apprentice myself, I only go to school twice a month, but I go to work every single day because you learn the practical application of your craft in the field. You can't learn in school. So you have to put these things into practice. Then once you put these into practice, now you become the doctrine. Islam Moors.
Islam.
And only then can you truly defend the doctrine and be set in defense of the good news of Ali in America. Islam Moors.
Islam.
These are good news,
That's right.
right?
Islam.
It said that it said that mothers teach these lessons to your little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. That's big, more. That's big. To learn to love instead of hate. Look at our communities, brothers and sisters. This is a community built on hate, operating on hate. Talk about cell phones and computers. The operating system of the Asiatic is hate. But these lessons, we can use that to reprogram the software so that it can operate not on hate but on love. Islam. It said, dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order and your children will learn to love instead of hate. Islam. Me and my brother on the way here, we was talking about, the importance of fathers and fatherhood, and how you can tell a person's upbringing and how they view the world by whether or not that individual, specifically a young man, whether or not he had his father in his life or a father type figure. But imagine if the fathers in this community had the lessons of Noble Drew Ali, right? But how they gonna get the lessons if we just letting everybody come and desecrate and defile the lessons? Islam.
That's right.
How are we going to be able to give these benefits for the sake of humanity? See, these lessons go beyond just the temple. What we're doing goes beyond simply the temple. The temples are based in our foundation. This is where we start everything off. This is the epicenter of our organizing, of us building character. But the work is out there. And so we got to preserve these laws so that we can go out there, Moors. Because I bear witness, and we all can bear witness, that these lessons can cure the ills of our community.
That's right.
The prophet said that the Negro problem can only be solved by the divine national movement of the Moorish American Islam. See, he was dealing with the Negro problem in those days. And I'm going to be bold enough to say that we need the lessons more today than we did 100 years ago. See, in 1921, they was dealing with the Negro problem. See, but in 2021, we're dealing with another problem. And I don't want to say what the other problem is because it's the holy day, right? But the problem has evolved, but the cure is still the same. Just like the coronavirus has evolved, but there's a cure for that, right? The problem has changed, has become stronger now, but these lessons, if we defend them and we preserve them as we ought to, as the prophet laid out to us, we can go out there and we can cure the ills of our community, Moors.
That's nice.
That's long.
We can take these lessons out there, Moors, and we can go to the pimp and the prostitute, Moors, and we can clean them up. Islam?
That's nice.
It's prostitutes literally at the motel right down the street, Moors.
That's
They need these.
That's right.
It's a brother out there selling crap, that's on perk, that's on lean right now. He need these.
That's right.
The lessons, the instructions, the divine instructions given to us by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. But how can we give them that sanctity, as our brother Kareem Bey talked about? How can we give them that pristine love that is in this doctrine if we're not doing our best to defend it? If we let any old jive brother and sister come up with a fez and a turban, lying on our prophet. So this is a day and time now, Moors, we got to clear out all the folly and the foolishness.
That's right.
We can't sit back idle and try to sometimes we can use the doctrine of the Moorish Science Temple of America to hinder our own selves. Right? We want to word the sermon where the prophet said this. No, the prophet said we must be set in defense of the gospel.
That's right.
That don't mean you go out and wage unrighteous war, but more. If you got to go to war, we might as well more war. It's not foreign to us.
That's right.
Especially when it comes to this doctrine. That's going to uplift and save our people. We got babies that need to eat. It's a baby right there. Sleep, beautiful young baby. Are we going to preserve these as is demanded of us in Act 4? Are we going to preserve these only divine laws?
Absolutely.
So that the next generation can take this and the generation after that? Or are we going to let people just come in and bring their own doctrine? Bring their own father? You know? That's not how this thing works, Moors. And that is not how we're going to realize the divine plan of the ages. When it comes to building schools, when it comes to building businesses, right? I was reading the Georgia Code early this morning, around like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And there was I want to say it was Title 13, 14. Title 14. It talks about the religious corporations, because I was looking up to see if Georgia had their own rendition of Heard's Revised Statute. And we do. See, we live in a day, it's not like how it was back in the prophet's day. Right? Most states have it so where religious corporations can set up businesses. Moors, I really encourage y'all to actually go and study that. Because the amount of power that this institution we standing in right now, the amount of power that we have, we can literally, and this is law, we can start schools, we can start businesses. Right? We can start all manner of human activity as it relates to our doctrine. See, this is a religious society. And we have to defend this religious society from all foreign ideas, from all foreign concepts that have nothing to do with the sanctity of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And understand, just like the Sister Grant, she said, that this ain't for everybody, but the benefits are for everybody. Islam Moors, everybody that walk through the temple gates or walk by the temple gates are not going to become members. They don't have to become members. But the benefit of being organized, the benefit of having quality of character, even if your quality of character is not Moorish American, the fact that you have such, that's a benefit and a blessing to the community. See, my whole gospel more is making sure that our message can go out there to the streets of our people. And that's where the work is at. And so we have to get ourselves right. We have to climb that 3-step ladder. Belief, faith, fruition. We got to consume these lessons, digest them, and allow the nutrients to flow through our bodies so that we can be transformed and gain the flesh and blood of Allah. Islam Moors, they got to be able to see that. See, we have to move by example. Chairman Fred Hampton said that the people learn obviously by observation. So if they learn by observation, that means we got to demonstrate. Right? We have to go out and show them what it means to have quality and character. So that the sister down the street that's selling herself, the brother that's a pimp that's selling her, can look and say, you know what, that's a better way of living life. Right? So that the brother that's hopped up on whatever mind-altering substance can see us and decide to clear up that foggy and that hazy vision that he got. Islam Moors, this is how serious the thing is. We're talking about resurrecting the dead. Bringing the people to life that had no life.
That's right.
Bringing people to life and bringing people to a culture, a living culture that had no culture. when people tell them that they was just Negroes and they was just black people and all they did was eat chicken and watermelon and frolic about the fields picking cotton. Not letting them know that, no, you had a living culture that goes back into infinity. That goes back into the before the beginning of time. Islam Moors. I love that dialogue that my sister Gwen was having with the Sister Grand Sheik. The fact that we could even sit here and discuss about the reality of Allah.
That's right.
That is a blessing that our people need, even if their idea is not Allah.
That's right.
Their idea might be Jehovah. Their idea might be whatever.
Yes.
Sir? Yeshua, Isa, or whatever. The fact that they can think lofty thoughts. They don't have to be debased and stay in the mud and the muck and the mire and the dirt. They can raise their thoughts to infinite wisdom.
That's right.
Because we know Allah is Aq and goes by many names.
That's right.
And I'm just happy that my people can know the name. But they first got to get out the mud, Moors. And so we got to be the ones that go get them. That's our task. Uplift. What do you think it means to uplift all of humanity? You think you're going to sit in a seat and vibrate in your mind? No, Moors, you got to get up. Go out and get something. Go out and get them brothers and sisters. Talk to your friends. Talk to your families. We all got Negroes in our families. More, just keep it above. They need these lessons. They need these teachings that's going to help mold them and shape them into a better version of themselves. That is the basis of this doctrine. Is to make ourselves the best versions of ourselves. Islam more. We come in one way, we leave out another way.
That's right.
Right? It's like a factory. This is a factory right now that Noble Drew Ali himself said that Allah set up through Noble Drew Ali. And so we got to make sure that this thing is at high efficiency. Anybody who's ever worked in a factory environment. Got to be 24/7, Moors. It's not just on Friday that we Moorish Americans. It's not just on Sundays we Moorish Americans. We Moorish Americans every single day. This is our religion. This is our spiritual system. This is our culture. This is our livelihood. And we got to defend that and protect that. Because I promise you, you're not going to go to the Buddhist temple, bring in a foreign doctrine to them, and they just going to allow it.
No, sir.
You're not going to go to the Hindu temple, bring a foreign doctrine, and they just allow it. You're not even going to go to the Christian church and bring a foreign temple, a foreign doctrine, and they allow it. Them ushers going to, excuse me, sir. We got to be the same way, Moors. All foreign teachings have to go, Moors. And we got to pick, we either going to defend the teachings, pristine and perfect and pure, or we can go out with them. Because that's the cares of the world. We give all honors to those who brought a teacher, Moors, but this man right here brought us the perfect teacher. It's time we realize that, and it's time that we defend that with our lives. See, the nations of the earth, they defend what they believe in with their life.
Come on.
They're willing to offer their life as a willing sacrifice for the perpetuity of their generations. Islam Moors. See, we don't want to do that. It's easy go lucky with us. It is what it is. See, that lackadaisical attitude is what allowed all of our great movements to fall. It's what allowed all of our great civilizations to fall, because we got too lax. We got too comfortable. We grew content with the folly in our own gates, more. No more can we allow that. We're working to build something here. Not only are we working to build on a physical level with our scholarship fund and our building fund, but we're working to build the perfected temple of man inside our people.
That's right.
You got to think bigger than the temple. It's about helping out the man and woman on the street. That's why this institution was set up.
That's right.
You can't be stuck in here. It starts in here, but it ends out there. Islam Moors. And the more of them that we can bring in here, now that it's, I mean, come on, Moors, this thing really and truly can run itself.
That's right.
So we ain't stressing about who's gonna come today, who's not gonna come today. Because if the mechanism is operating as it is supposed to, us propagating the faith and defending the faith, people can see the clear difference. Elijah Muhammad said you put a clear glass next to a dirty glass. It's a lot of dirty glassism that's going on today. A lot of it. But we are the clear glass, more. We are the clear. Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought that clean, cold, crisp, clear glass, more.
Islam.
And all we got to do is drink from it and encourage our people to drink from it. Show them the benefits of it. That's why you got to be who you are at all times. So when people see you, when they look in your eyes, they can see and look at Prophet Omoowale-Bey, because his form is gone, Moors.
Islam.
The energy is still here, but the form, the flesh does not exist anymore. So a brother who's looking for Omoowale-Bey, he cannot go and, excuse me, brother prophet, sir, he cannot do that. But he can only do that through yours and my example. So what example are you setting to the people? What do they see when they look at you? Do they see Prophet Omoowale-Bey? Do they see someone that could possibly be a representation of the prophet? Or do they see somebody faking the phone? Cap, as they say on the streets. What do they see? See, these are questions we have to ask, because now we must do what's called reflection, which is the business of man. And there's nothing wrong with reflection. There's nothing wrong with saying, I've been taught wrong. That somebody taught me folly, I got to unlearn all of that. There's nothing wrong with that. That shows incredible maturity and growth on your part. And that's the whole reason why we're here in the first place, is to unlearn the things that have bound us to mental slavery.
That's right.
Only we can free ourselves from those chains.
Come on now.
But we got to be able to recognize that we locked up.
Islam.
You can have a fez in your head and still be locked up.
Islam.
You can have a turban with a crescent pin smack dead in the middle of your head and still be locked up.
Islam. That soul.
Because you are still adhering to the principles of slavery.
Come on, breathe, brother, man. Breathe.
You're still adhering to these principles. And so if the people who are really locked up in mental slavery see you, you're supposed to be the bearer of the light. You're supposed to be bringing the light. But you still operating in darkness. They gonna think we just another group of Negroes just bumping our gums. Fridays and Sundays. We got to demonstrate and vibrate on a high level. Islam more. To show our people that this is where they belong. Like I said, even if they don't come into this actual institution, they can be supporters, sympathizers. They can still benefit from their association with us, and we can benefit from our association with them.
That's right.
Islam Moors?
Islam.
See, this is the more science temple. There's a scientific method of how we do everything.
That's right.
Everybody don't have to be a Bey or an El. But they can have a Bey or an El mindset by seeing our example.
That's right.
By seeing how we conduct ourselves when it comes to business, education, and even how we deal with one another. Are we operating on are we practicing segregation? Are we looking down on somebody because they're not a Moorish American? Forgetting that a year ago, 2 years ago, 20 years ago, you was a Negro just like them?
That's right.
You was operating under the principles of the lower self just like them? See, that's how we turn people off to the movement. And that is how we attack the movement. Islam Moors?
Islam.
We attack the movement by becoming, see, there's a thing called zeal. We talk about holy zeal.
Islam.
But you can become overzealous in your approach, to the point now where you end up doing more harm than good. We want to do more good than harm. We're going to do harm because we're going to play the manifest. We're going to harm. But if we work to do more good, if we work to master the lower self and utilize the higher self, because our people they will fly in here, ready to get this salvation, ready to get the tools so that they can save themselves and save their families. We talk about in my other organization, one man, one woman, one community at a time. That's all it starts with, is one person. When they see you as one other person demonstrating the degrees of Ali, now they're gonna ask questions. What are you studying? What's your religion? You a Muslim? You one of them black Muslims? Islam, yeah, something like that. Well, when do y'all meet? Fridays, Sundays. Okay, what's the address? Boom, 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 boom. Now they come, now they see a whole room full of people with quality and character. Islam, praise Allah. It won't be too much longer more, but I really want us to defend what we have here. Because if you're not willing to defend it, you're not worthy of it. You're not worthy of it. You're not supposed to have it if you're not going to get up and defend it. And I'm not saying you got to, be online and anybody that say something crazy about Joel Ali, you got to go on it. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that live the life according.
That's right.
Be the message. So that way when the folly does enter into your sphere, they can see the clear distinction. The Ethiopian degree can be practiced. So that they can see one from the other. And the one that they see is Noble Drew Ali. And they'll see the pristine teachings and they'll see the perfection and Moors. When you see a Moorish American, and I bear witness when our officials came down. Moors, when you see Moors that are actually living this thing, there's a glow to them.
That's right.
There's a luminescence that they emit. Because they have allowed the teachings to transform them, and on a physical level, they start to radiate that light that Noble Drew Ali brought. See, we're working to bring that light to the people.
That's right.
We're working to take these lessons and put it smack dab in the middle of the community and let that energy radiate forth and let our people, like a nuclear bomb, explode with love, unity, Moors.
Islam.
But the only way we can do that is if we arm ourselves with the knowledge of Drew Ali. And if we arm ourselves with the understanding of Drew Ali and then become Drew Ali. Islam Moors, we got to become this message. Our people need us. Right now they need us. They don't need us yesterday, they need us today. They need us in the best possible condition that we can be. Because if we're going to bring the light, Moors, to give them that light, we got to have that light. And we got to cherish that light and defend it with our very lives. Into perpetuity, into the future. Islam Moors, praise Allah. We thank Allah for sending us a prophet to help us clean up and cut away the ungainly parts of ourselves. Islam Moors, to give us the tools so we can do it ourselves and we can hold each other accountable. Because if we don't hold each other accountable more, there's really no point even being here. Accountability is a divine principle.
That's right.
To know that there's a specific regiment that you need to live by and that I need to live by, and I'm going to make sure that you live by it, you're going to make sure that I live by it. Islam Moors, we're brothers, we're sisters. We got to hold each other up.
That's right.
We just read, prophet said, united we stand, divided we fall. That divide comes when we're not holding ourselves and holding other people accountable. That's where that fall comes from. And when we recognize that, we recognize that when our brother's correcting us, right? Trying to square up the parts of our character that need to be squared up. It's not an offensive thing. It's not something to get mad or upset about. See, a child get angry. An immature child, let me say that. Because many children are very precocious. They're able to have a mature understanding of what discipline is. So let me not say a child. Right? But an immature child, an immature person cannot stand to be corrected. An immature person cannot stand to be told that what they're doing and what they're teaching or what they've been taught is wrong. And they're not willing to change it. It's about the change. It's about the metamorphosis from man to God. Islam Moors, to reach up to Allah. But it's a process. You got to climb that ladder. And you got to, one step at a time. It's not going to happen tonight. Not going to happen tomorrow. But it's through constant repetition. Eating these lessons, eating these lessons, eating these lessons, eating these lessons. They say you are what you eat. What's your spiritual diet? What teachings are you allowing into yourself and into your household? Islam Moors? Bon appetit, Moors. Bon appetit.
It's a good meal.
It's a good meal. We gotta eat, Moors. It's a healthy meal, Moors. We gotta eat this. Islam? So when the people come in, they see, man, these people eating good. I want some of this. So I can become the best version of myself. And so that I can learn who I am. Learn what I am and learn whose I am. To learn that I'm not just some lonely colored boy on the street, that I am actually a part and a partial of the great God Allah. Islam. And to know that I have a culture. I am somebody. My brother, Jesse Jackson, he said, I am somebody. He wasn't wrong. We may not agree with his methodology, but the spirit of that statement is very correct. I am somebody.
That's right. That's right.
I have a nationality.
That's right.
I have a culture. I have a heritage. See, it's the nationality for me.
Right.
It's the nationality for me, Moors. To know that I am not what my enemy and open oppressor says that I am. That I'm not going to define myself by his standards. I'm going to define who I am. We can only do that through the Moorish Sound Step of Miracles. So Moors, I thank y'all for listening.
Islam.
I praise Allah that we're here, that we're healthy. And I thank you all, and we thank Noble Drew Ali.